How many times a week does a user ask for help to find a device on the network? Typically that involves getting the MAC address, logging into multiple switches to find where the device is connected. What if I tell you I could do this task in 10 seconds versus 10 minutes, depending upon your environment? Over the last 6 months, I've been using AI to help me automate simple tasks like these so I could focus on more important work. It all started with a video from John Capobianco where he was using an AI agent with a local LLM that was connecting to a switch. That video made me realize what's possible as to how to use AI in a networking environment. In this video, I will show some key features of my Network Copilot system that I've built. Let's take a look. This is my web page front end. Just to go over it very briefly, I'm logged in as myself. My current thread, think of thread ID as ChatGPT or Gemini, where you can continue a conversation. You can either start a new conversation or log out. For site selection, there's a drop-down. These sites will be from NetBox, which is my source of truth. The default view will always be port provisioning. And then here I have a quick network lookup. So here I could either find device location by IP, find device location by MAC address, MAC to IP, IP to MAC. For the find device location, it will search all the sites from this dropdown, which will be all the sites in NetBox. In the middle, we'll show more information once I select a site regarding switches. And on the right-hand side is my assistant chat, where in natural language, you can query the devices on the network. Okay, let's do an example with a quick network lookup. So a user gives you either an IP address or a MAC address. They would like to find where this device is connected on the network. So here I have an IP address. I'm going to click on Investigate Now. It's going to say Network Copilot is thinking. Okay, so here, as you can see, it tells you the IP address has been found. It's connecting to switch sw-site-a.myrouter on port GI103. This is the description of the port. The MAC address of the device is this, and the switch is located in New York, New York. Let's try another one with MAC address. So I'm going to select find device location by MAC. Investigate now. Same concept, is just doing it with MAC address versus IP address. So here it found the MAC address connecting to sw-site-b.myrouter on port GI104. This is the description of the port, data port site B. The switch is located in Winchester, Virginia. Next, we're going to look at site selection. So here from the drop-down, it will show you all the sites that's listed in my NetBox instance. So let's select New York. Now in the middle, it will ask you to select a switch. Again, also, this will also be all the switches that's in NetBox. So I'm going to select the second one. Okay, so now it gives you an option to edit the switch description. So for example, where the switch is located for easy identification. So let's do server room. Save changes. That way, if someone comes back to this instance, looks at it, they'll be able to know where the switch is located. Okay, so if I select the switch, now I have a grid for all the ports for that switch. And I've also color coded them. So green means the port is currently up and it's a safe port. Safe port meaning it's an access port. Again, this interface is for non-network admins to make configurations to ports, for example, for a printer or a camera. Basically, you're just setting it as an access port and changing the VLAN. Blue means the port's currently down, but it's a safe port that they can edit. Red, it's a protected port, meaning it's a trunk port or some type of uplink that they should not touch. admin down, it's grayed out. So for example, port number 7 here, it's grayed out, but it's blue. So it's an access port or it has no configuration on it, and it's grayed out. So let's just say, so if I scroll down, there's one red port. So G148. So if I go to G148, here it will list all the ports that are available for that switch that we see in the grid. So I select the port. Now on the right hand side, it's going to show me the port information. So it shows me the description of the port, the status of the port right now, the modes, in this case a trunk port. It has some tagged VLANs. These are the VLANs that are tagged. And it has this message: this port is protected and cannot be edited. So a non-admin will not be able to configure this port. It'll just have this warning. There's also an option to find a connected device. I'll show that on a different port. So the only other port I have up is G103. So let's go to that port. Okay, so I'm in that port right now. So this is my description: data port site A, port is up, it's an access port, and it's VLAN 110. So I have two options here. I could either configure the port or I could find a connected device. Let's try to find a connected device first. So what this does, this will be connecting to the switch to get the MAC address, and then it's going to look at my LibreNMS to see the matching IP address. It also shows the VLAN. So on this port, it shows the VLAN, it's 110. This is the current MAC address on the port, and this is IP address. Let's just say if we wanted to change the description, we could actually change the description on here, and it will update on the switch as well as it'll update in NetBox. So right now it's loading the available VLANs. So it'll connect to the switch directly and get all the VLANs. So these are all the VLANs for the switch. I could change it to another VLAN. I'm not going to change it, but I will change it to configured by AI to do that. Review changes. So again, these are for non-network admin. They'll basically confirm what they're changing before and after. So this is my description before, description after, VLAN before, VLAN after. In this case, that's not changing. Confirm change. And here it's going to go apply the configuration to the device. And also update NetBox. Here it says port configuration successful. The page is going to refresh. It will have the new updated information. And that's that demo for these features. Last but not least is my assistant chat. So here you can use natural language. In this case, I'm using Gemini as my LLM. Using natural language to query your NetBox instance or query the switches to give you back some information. So what I could do is I can ask it in NetBox, how many devices do I have? Here it's thinking. Okay, so it has my 3 devices. I'm going to ask it a follow-up question. This will be more for a network admin to verify. So I'm going to ask it to connect to each device and use my pyATS tool that I have from my MCP server and to verify that VLAN 100 exists. So these 3 devices belong to 2 different sites, but it will still connect to all 3 devices to get that information for me. So right now it says it's thinking. I do want to show you this MCP container. So here, this is the tool it's going to use, the pyATS run batch show command. It's going to do it in multi-threading. So here, all 3 switches, the they connect, disconnect, run the command. So they don't do it one by one, meaning it doesn't connect to the first switch, run the command, disconnect, and connect to the second switch. It connects to all the switches at the same time, which is great. Especially if you have 500 plus devices. I actually have tried it with 500 plus devices for a different function, and it'll take about 11 minutes. So if I go back to my front end, so it says yes, VLAN 100 exists on all 3 devices. And then it gives you a little more information. So this chat will only answer network related questions. So if I ask, what is the weather in New York? It's not going to give you a response, or it's going to say, I can't do that. Okay, I'm sorry, I can't fulfill your request. I do not have real time, because there are no tools for it to actually do this. But it can do, device status, retrieve configurations, troubleshooting, network connectivity, which is great. So I've shown a lot. I'm going to go over how did we get here, the tools that I currently use. So we have Portainer, which has all my containers. It holds my AI agent, which is my MC pyATS, and it's using LangGraph. Here I have all my MCP servers. Each server has their respective tools. Here I'm running my NetBox, LibreNMS, Keycloak, Infisical, and a couple other things. So here, this is my LibreNMS instance used for monitoring. It shows all my devices. This is my NetBox instance. If I go to all my devices, these are the 3 devices that's the same that's in LibreNMS. My NetBox instance is my source of truth. So what I want to show you in my NetBox, if I go into an actual switch, if I go into, let's go to journal. So this is where we added the description of server room earlier in the video. So anything that's done on the front end will have a journal entry. But what I wanted to show you was the interfaces. I've added some more fields. So here it has a lot more information than your typical NetBox setup. So there's a field enable that has a check mark or an X. The description, this will actually be description from the port. Cable connectors, those are default. Here is safe port. This is what tells it on the front end what color to assign it. So whether it's green, red, voice VLANs, channel group ID if it's part of a port channel, tag VLANs if it's a trunk port that has only certain VLANs allowed, then untagged VLANs if it's like an access port, VLAN 1 meaning there's no configuration on there. Then the status will show the current status of the interface on that device, and then last updated, that is by default in NetBox. But if I scroll down, so for example, 148 was our trunk port for this device. So it shows the connection to the other network device, and then it's showing the 5 VLANs that is currently tagged on that trunk port. The way I'm updating NetBox is every 15 minutes, there's a scheduled task that runs that connects to all the switches, and it updates the status here. And that's how on this interface, you're able to see these different colors. But I'll explain about how it works in later videos. I just wanted to mention that right now. Okay, so we have our NetBox instance. Then we have Keycloak, which in this case, I'm simulating 80 integration. So when someone signs in, they could be assigned to a different group. And then based upon your group, you'll have access to tools. Tools I haven't covered, but just at a high level, I just wanted to mention that. Secrets, I'm using Infisical. So these are all my passwords, API keys, to log into the switches. So all my passwords are stored in this Infisical platform, and my agent is able to access this to securely access this information. So there's no plain text passwords in this environment. And then we're back to our Streamlit front end. I know that was a lot. I showed a lot of features, not a lot of detail, but I really just wanted this video to basically show high level the things that I can do with my application. I will create additional videos that will go into each segment that will provide more in depth as to how it works. I also want to add that I use AI to help me create the code for me to implement these solutions. That doesn't mean it created all the code. I didn't have to do anything. There was a lot of troubleshooting. There was a lot of being creative to find a solution, a lot of testing, a lot of reworking, and all that while it was happening. LLM changed, the way LLMs work, the way my queries work. So I do have a lot of experience working with LLMs as to what it can do, what it can't do. I'm taking a very measured approach as to how I use LLMs to avoid issues like hallucinations, inconsistency, so forth. In my next video, I'm going to talk about NetBox drift. So you have an existing environment, you want to use a source of truth like NetBox, you update NetBox, but then how do you keep your devices updated? Meaning, would you do it manually? Is there some automated way? In my instance, my NetBox instance, currently I have switches. So there's a scheduled task that runs every 15 minutes that logs into the switch, gets the information, and updates NetBox automatically. So on the front end, when a non-admin user looks at it, for the most part, they'll be able to get the information that they need. If this seems interesting to you and you'd like to follow along, please hit the subscribe button and we'll go on this journey together. Also, feel free to drop a comment. I'm really interested to see what people are doing, what people are thinking, what questions you may have, and I'll see you in the next video.